And welcome back, everyone, to the latest episode of An American in Thailand, airing every Friday. This program is broadcast to you from Ratchamakon, University of Technology, Peranakan, and I will bring it to you in two parts. For the first part, I will be introducing a certain topic about being an American here living in Thailand. It could be about food or travel, culture, anything that maybe is a little different between the two countries. We'll then take a break, and in the second part of the program, we'll get into some more examples and specifics. Okay, let's get to the show. Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for An American in Thailand. I am obviously an American English teacher here at Ratchamakon, University of Technology, Peranakan. I've been teaching here for over 8 years now, so I feel like I've been here long enough that I can kind of talk about the differences in culture between America and Thailand. I'm still learning, even after 8.5 years. There's a lot of differences we have, so I learn new things every day about Thailand. But I've been here long enough that I can mostly speak about the differences. I should also mention something I point out in most of my episodes. When I say I'm an American, I mean I'm from the United States. Some people from other parts of the Americas, North and South America, get annoyed with that. But because they also are American, I understand that. But saying American, the full name of the country is United States of America. So when we say an American, it's just using the short version of that name. That's what we mean when we say America or American. We're not trying to offend anyone. That we have really almost no other way of saying it. There's not. You don't say that you are a USA-er or a United Stater. Well, that's not. Those aren't words. We don't say that. So there's no other way for us to say it. We can say we are from the United States, maybe, but if you're just going to give a nationality, like what are we? That's how it's said. So we're not trying to offend anyone when we say American. So just know that right up front. Know that when I say American, I am from the United States. I do recognize that Canada, Mexico, all of Central America, all of South America, they are all Americans maybe in a different way than I mean it, as I'm talking about a U.S. citizen, but they're still Americans. They're part of America. So just know that when I say American, I'm not trying to offend anyone. It's just the nationality. It's the word we use for the nationality for people from the United States of America. All right, so our topic for today's episode is going to be sports. Now, you may wonder, didn't we already talk about this? We're only on about week 29 of this program. I do have another program on our radio station here, which we've been doing for almost 2.5 years now. So this is a pretty young program. We're going to repeat a topic? Yes and no. Yes and no. In the other episode we did about sports, it was a little more general. We kind of just talked about what the most popular sports are in the two countries, and maybe why, a little bit of why, and why one is more popular, why something's more popular or whatever. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well here. For example, one of the sports I'm going to talk a little bit about is badminton, and that's more popular here than it is in the United States. We'll talk about that. But we're going to get a little bit more into specifics and details, and so that also means we're probably going to be talking about fewer sports. We may mention them all somewhere along the line, all the different ones that maybe are a little different in popularity between America and Thailand. So we may mention them, but we're going to get a little more specific on some of them. So it really is going to be a different program than the first one. Because what I'm also going to do is I'm also going to recommend a program for a sport for our folks here in Thailand. If you would like to check out some American sport. There is one that I think might be kind of fun and interesting to Thai people. And it may be one that you don't expect. Because you probably think I'm going to say American football. I do like American football. I think it's fun. But all the stops and starts in it, some people might find it kind of boring. Some people do. Even though it's very popular in the United States, not everyone likes it. And the people that don't, that's usually kind of why. It's a little too boring. I don't find it boring at all, but I mean, while there are a lot of stops in it, the stops are usually pretty brief until you get kind of late in the game when coaches are calling timeouts and things like that. So, and the reason I'm mentioning that is because I think if you look at sports that are more popular in Thailand, there do tend to be less stoppages in play. Well, it kind of depends on how good you are. For example, with volleyball and badminton, if you're not very good and you can't keep it in the air, the ball or the birdie, which is what we call the little thing in badminton that you hit, in America at least. Some other places call it a shuttlecock. I don't know what it's called in other places. We call it a birdie. But if you're good at those sports, you can keep the ball or the birdie going in the air for a long time. So it's continuous action, not many breaks. Eventually it hits the ground, and so you have a break for a second, but then it doesn't last very long. You serve it again, and we're back in action. And I know that football, which we call soccer in America, I know that football is very popular here. You don't get a lot of breaks there. When there's a foul, yeah. Ball goes out of bounds, yeah. Someone scores a goal, yeah. But you start up the action pretty quickly. You're right back at it. Now, I personally don't find football to be that exciting because the field is just too big. It takes too long to go up and down, and so because of that, the scores are really low. It's just, I don't find it to be very exciting. But I do understand why someone might, because the action is pretty continuous. All right, so we're going to talk about sort of more details like that. And it is very interesting when you think about it, just the very fact that there are some sports that are more popular in one place than another. You would think that just because of human nature, we're going to all kind of like or enjoy the same sort of thing, the same activities. I mean, and of course, not every person enjoys the exact same activities either, but you know what I mean, generally, as a society, as a culture. So it's kind of interesting that that's not true. And maybe it's because of our history. Maybe it's just because of what we're good at, so we're going to like what we're better at. So, for example, in a lot of Asian countries, they're really good at badminton. So it's pretty popular. In the United States, we're not very good at it. And so that's one of the best examples I can think of. And we're going to talk about that first. We're going to talk a little bit about badminton. So I'll give you an example that kind of puts on display the difference in popularity. You will often here in Thailand see folks coming and going out of their house with their badminton rackets, and they almost look professional because they'll have a bag for their badminton racket. So it's like their own special racket, like someone would with a tennis racket, maybe. Now, with tennis rackets, that is pretty normal in the U.S. But honestly, seeing a badminton racket in a bag with someone going out with it, I've honestly never seen that in America in my entire life. I'm sure it probably happens. I'm sure, like, if you were to go to a racket club or something, Maybe there are some people there who are more serious about it. I'm sure you can buy a badminton racket bag, obviously. So I'm sure there are some people that have those. But in all my years in America, never seen one. Never. Not once. Not once. Plenty of people with racket bags for their tennis rackets, but never for a badminton racket. And that's not to say we don't play it. In fact, I've played it a lot. I like it. I'm pretty good at it. Not very good, but pretty good. I don't know how good I'd be now. I haven't played it in a long time. But I'm pretty good at badminton. But it's played much more just like a game in America. It's just a game. Just like I see a lot of my students playing Uno with one another in between classes or something. Uno, it's a game. It's a card game. Badminton, it's a game. That's how we play it in America. It's just fun. When it's summertime, the weather's nice, you go outside, you set up the net, and you play badminton with your friends and family in your backyard. America's big, so people tend to have more space, bigger houses. A lot of people have, if you're out in the suburbs at least, maybe not in the city, but if you're out in the suburbs or out in the countryside, you may have a big yard or something like that. And so people have space. So we set up a net outside the house, go outside and play badminton. It's just a game. It's fun. So we definitely enjoy it. Most people play it. I did recently see someone on YouTube who didn't even know what it was, and she's American. I was like, really? You don't know what badminton is? So I guess not everyone plays it, but almost everyone I know has played badminton, especially my friends that grew up in suburbs or countryside. Some of my friends who grew up in the city maybe haven't played it much, if at all. They know what it is, though. Like I said, everyone knows, except that one girl I saw, which really I found to be bizarre, that she didn't know what it was. So we all know what it is. We all enjoy it. We all play it, or most of us play it. But it's not a competitive sport like it is here in Thailand. I'm not saying no one plays it competitively. I'm sure the United States has a competitive team that goes to play in all of the international competitions, things like that. Yes, some people, I'm sure, play it competitively. But it's not widespread. Like here in Thailand, it is a big deal for playing badminton competitively. Now, I honestly can't think of a reverse. A sport in America that's played competitively, but not here in Thailand. Now, I'm not saying there aren't sports that we play competitively in America that we don't play here in Thailand. There are several of those, but you basically just don't play them. Unlike badminton, which we play a lot of in America, we just play it for fun. I can give you an example. I have seen ice hockey and baseball played here, but it's really not very competitive, and it's not widespread. Very few people play it. Very few people play it. I know Bangkok actually does have an ice hockey league, but you never really hear about it. There are very few people here playing ice hockey. I've seen photos of the ice hockey league because I used to play ice hockey, and I can tell you that the ice hockey league is mostly made up of foreigners. It's like half of them are foreigners. They're white people like me playing ice hockey here. Only about half the team, I think, is Thai. So it's just not widespread. Same thing with baseball. You rarely see it played here. I have seen it. I saw it a few years ago. So that's how often I see it. It's been a few years. It's rare. But I did see students playing baseball at a high school a few years back. So it is played, but it's not common. So there's nothing kind of like badminton, but in reverse. And American football, that's not played at all here. So we don't kind of see that same thing. But we see quite a lot of that if you compare Thailand to America, if you go that way. Like I mentioned, badminton. You also see it with football, which we call soccer in America. It's not exactly the same because that's definitely more competitive in America than, say, badminton is. We have a Major League Soccer league, which is fairly popular. So it is a popular competitive sport in America. But it's certainly less popular than in most of the rest of the world. And it is similar to the whole volleyball example in that a lot of kids, especially, will actually play it. Even though they don't grow up and be professional soccer players, and so big competitive leagues and all that. I mean, again, we do have some competitive leagues. It is popular. It's not quite the same as badminton, but it's just similar in the sense that it's more popular, like just playing for fun, like as kids. Now that might be actually in a league, but it's still more just for fun. Like I played soccer as a kid. I played soccer, yeah. So most of us play it, but again, it's not as competitive as here in Thailand. You can kind of say the same thing about volleyball. Once again, we definitely do have competitive leagues in America. I don't want to make it sound like it's not competitive at all. I played in a volleyball league in university. It was like kind of the less competitive league where just teams within the university play against each other. You don't go out and play other universities, so we weren't very good. I certainly wasn't very good, but it was still a competitive league. Played against teams. We kept score. We had rankings. We tried to win the season, win the championship. We had playoffs, I believe. In fact, I think we came in second, if I remember. Both years I played, I think we came in second. So we have leagues, and they are competitive. My partner also played in a competitive league in New York for volleyball. So, again, I don't mean to say that these sports aren't competitive at all in America. It's just that they're less competitive than what you see in Thailand. And it's just interesting that there's nothing in reverse. You don't see a popular competitive sport in America that is widely played here, but just not as competitively. Mostly, you just don't play them. And as I said, again, some people do play them. I am aware of the ice hockey league in Bangkok. I have seen people play baseball here in Bangkok. American football, no, that is pretty much not played. But most other sport, but it's just interesting that does not exist here. All right, so in the second part of our program, I'm going to kind of get into talking about a sport that maybe some people in Thailand will like. That's not all we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about that a little bit. And I think you'll be surprised which sport it is that I would recommend. And it's based on my experience in seeing what types of sports Thai people seem to enjoy. All right, so let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about that. So let's take a break. All right, welcome back to An American in Thailand. We are talking about sports and some of the differences between Thailand and America. We have discussed the topic once before, but we're talking about it in a little bit different way today. So one of the things that I found interesting that we discussed in the first part is that there are several competitive sports in Thailand, which are basically just fun games in America. And when I say fun games, I don't mean to, in case anyone in America actually watching this, I don't mean to say they're not competitive at all, especially soccer. Like I said, we have a major league sports league for soccer. It's quite popular. It's probably almost as popular as we consider there to be four major sports in America. It's American football, baseball, basketball, and ice hockey. And quite frankly, ice hockey is so far below the other three that Soccer is probably actually pretty close to that. So I'm certainly not saying that soccer is not popular. But if you look at the rest of the world, soccer, which the rest of the world calls football, is the number one sport in the entire world. So it is, to some degree, more of just a fun game that people play in America. Like most school kids will play soccer at some point, unless they're maybe in a school in the city where they don't have a field, don't have that area to play in. But anyone that has the space, they're probably going to play soccer at some point. I played soccer when I was a kid. I still remember running around this was when I was in elementary school. I didn't play it that long because I was not a big fan of it. But, I still remember playing it in elementary school. Even though I was just a little kid, I still remember it. I remember playing soccer. In fact, I played most sports. The only sport I didn't play was American football. I never played that, but I played ice hockey, played basketball. I was not good at basketball. That's my worst sport. But I played them all. So you'll notice I didn't mention basketball here. Why? Because that's popular and competitive in both countries. Now, it's probably a little less popular here in Thailand, and maybe a little less competitive, simply just because of the number of people here. So it's hard to get really high quality, just because there's fewer people to choose from. It's not that Thai people are any worse at the game. You just have fewer people. And so the quality may not quite be there, so it's hard for, Thailand's national team to win, at the Olympics or something like that. And because of that, you don't get a lot of the big media stories about it. And so it's maybe a little less popular here, but it's still quite popular. I have a lot of students I know that play basketball quite frequently, and some of them really love it, and some of them play competitively. It's quite popular here. So that's why I didn't mention that. But like I said, it's really interesting that you have these sports in Thailand that we play in America, but more for fun. Badminton, volleyball, soccer. And again, I got to keep repeating this because I don't want anyone getting mad at me saying soccer is not competitive in America. Of course it is. Less so. I'm just saying less so, and I'm also saying that a lot of people do just play it for fun. I think badminton is probably the best example, though, because it's, again, I'm sure there are some people that play it competitively in America, but again, much, 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 much less so. That one's kind of a bigger difference. That's the biggest difference. And like I said, what I find interesting is that there's nothing in reverse. There's nothing in reverse. If the popular American sport is not popular here in Thailand, it just isn't played. Ice hockey is really hard to find. As I said, they have it. Hard to find. Baseball. I've seen it before here in Thailand. Really hard to find. American football, nothing. Not at all. So, one thing I'm going to talk about then is what about those popular American sports? Is there any one of them that I think that I would recommend to Thai folks? All right, so our three most popular sports in America that are not played here, at least not widely, are baseball, American football, and ice hockey. Again, I leave out basketball because that's also pretty popular. That's our fourth one. And I'm not including that because that's played a lot here. It's somewhat competitive. You don't hear about it too much because, again, not a lot of success on the world stage, but it's still competitive. It's really the unknown sports that I'm talking about here. So we're talking about, again, baseball, American football, and ice hockey. So which one would I recommend? Well, I think it's going to surprise you that I would recommend the least popular of the three. And the one that it might be the hardest to play here because it's such a hot country, and that is ice hockey. So look, all three have their advantages depending on what you like. Baseball seems really slow and boring. Games can take up to 3 hours. They've done some stuff changing the rules to make it go a little faster. but it can seem really slow and boring. But it really requires a lot of strategy. So I really kind of like it in that sense. It really requires a lot of thinking. So it's a great game. But, in today's world where people always seem like they have short attention spans, always going to be doing something, it's a tough sport for folks to get into. So I can't see it getting that popular. They should. It's a phenomenal sport. Requires a lot of thinking. It's like playing chess on a field. Pitching matchups, can that pitcher versus that batter, and all kinds of different things. And who is the manager going to put in their lineup? The lineup is basically who is going to be batting. Who's the manager going to put up in their lineup that day? Because different types of batters, whether they swing left-handed or right-handed, might do better against different types of pitchers. And it's just, but then if the batter is really good, you want to make sure he's there regardless of who's pitching, and plus the pitcher can change in the middle of the game. It's just a lot of thinking that goes on there. So I think it's a really good game. You just have to understand it so you can understand the strategy that's going on. But unfortunately, I think people would get bored too easily. That's not the one I would recommend. American football? Well, there's more action than baseball, but it kind of comes in brief chunks. There's probably too much downtime. So I think some people will again find that too boring. Once again, I think it's a great game. I think that's great for watching with friends, parties. In fact, we do that a lot in America, especially for the Super Bowl. Everyone goes to not everyone, but a lot of people go to Super Bowl parties. Why is that great for watching with friends? Because with all of those little breaks you get, even though they don't last too long, you can have snacks, you can be chatting with your friends, you can do all that and still not miss the game. You watch the game, okay, there's one play, okay, boom, 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 okay, done, play is done. Now we have 30 seconds, have a little snack, chat a little with your friends. It's great for having parties. It's a great social event. American football is great for that. But again, like baseball, some people are going to find it boring. It's like 10 or 15 seconds of action. That's how long each play lasts. But then the team is given about 30 seconds or more to run the next play. So 15 seconds of action, 30 seconds of nothing. Unless, of course, they're behind and it's late in the game and they may hurry up and get their play off. They have up to 30 seconds. They can take less than that if they need to go faster. Well, then you also get timeouts, and maybe there's a review. They allow officials to review plays, things like that. I mean, there's a lot that can slow the game down. So, again, some people find it boring. So, that's why my recommendation is ice hockey. When I think about the Thai sports, like I mentioned earlier, there just aren't a lot of stoppages in play. Generally. I mean, again, it depends how good you are. If you're terrible at badminton or volleyball, the birdie or the ball is going to keep hitting the ground and you're going to have to stop and pick it up and serve and start to play again. But if you're really good at it, boom, 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 you can go back and forth for a long time with no stop. And then when it does stop, it only stops for a few seconds when you pick it up and serve again. So not a lot of stoppages. Not a lot of stoppages. And so ice hockey is never really boring. We do get some stoppages, but it's a lot like soccer. In fact, a lot of the rules and positions are the same. Soccer, because the field is bigger than an ice rink, I believe, although it's been a long time since I played soccer and I don't really watch it, I believe there's more players on a soccer team than there are, than there are on a ice hockey team, at least on the field at one time or on the ice at one time. So there's fewer people, but it's basically the same positions. It's goalie, wing, defense, center. It's kind of a lot of the same positions there. I think there are some other positions in soccer because, again, there are more people out there. But it's basically the same positions. So, and we know that soccer is popular here. Well, again, one of the reasons is probably because of the limited stoppages in play. The game continues. A lot of action. A lot of action. So that's the same thing with ice hockey. Uses a lot of the same rules, too. Like you can get offsides. That's one reason for a stoppage. You can be offsides. You can, when you score the goal, obviously the game stops. When there's a penalty, the game might stop. So a lot of the same rules. All right? And since it seems like Thai people like these kind of faster-paced sports, well, maybe not faster-paced. I mean, badminton's not that fast, right? But, you could think of them as being faster because they're not stopping all the time. Well, ice hockey is on ice skates. That's faster than any of the other sports we've talked about. That's faster than any of these sports. And now, in modern times, it's 2025 now as we're recording this, this is something that can be done. 50 years ago, building an ice rink in Thailand, that's not going to be easy. These days, it's a lot easier. I mean, you still could have built one 50 years ago. They are indoors, after all, most of them. In America, if you live in the north, there are lots of outdoor rinks and things like that. I lived in the north. I played ice hockey. I've played on outdoor rinks basically my entire life. And I mean my entire life. In fact, my last game I played in America before I moved here to Thailand, I lived in New York, and I played in a league there. The place that we played had 3 rinks. 2 were indoors, 1 were outdoor. Because it's not always cold enough, they try to put most of the games indoors. But they needed to schedule 3 games that night. It was cold. Our team got put on the outside rink. So, last game I ever played before I moved here was on an outside rink. Obviously, that's impossible in Thailand. But most rinks, even in America, are indoors. So it still could have been done 50 years ago in Thailand. But it's expensive. And it would be more expensive here in Thailand because of the need for additional cooling to keep the ice. Now, with better technology, more efficient things like that, it's easier and cheaper to keep things cooler. Plus, you'll notice that a lot of the ice rinks, they put into malls here. They're in the big malls. Why does that matter? Because the mall itself, the whole building, is already cooled to what would be more of just kind of a normal temperature rather than how hot it is outside. So it's actually really easy to do ice rinks now here in Thailand. I'm not saying they will, because people aren't very interested in ice hockey here. So, yeah. But what I recommend you do is go skating. Like I said, some of these malls have ice rinks. I've gone to one, maybe twice. Maybe I've done it twice. I don't know, once or twice. I've gone to an ice rink at a mall here. I've gone ice skating here in Thailand. They exist. And they have skates that you can rent. In fact, when I went, I had to rent skates. I did. I got rid of all my hockey equipment because I don't play here. But I did have skates, but my skates were back in America at the time. So I had to rent skates to skate on the rink. So yeah, you can rent skates there, and they're cheap. They charge you like, I don't know, 20 baht, 40 baht to rent the skates, and you skate around for about 45 minutes to an hour. And it's and I even think it's a fun and interesting thing to do for a date. You might say, well, that's just weird. Who's going to go ice skating on a date? That's weird. But think about it. It's very unique and interesting. It's not something you would normally do, so it's kind of exciting in that way. Plus, it's hard to skate. One way you can help each other out to make sure you're not falling down all the time is hold each other's hands. Isn't that romantic? So it's even a fun thing to do on a date. So I recommend you try it out. Go ice skating. Now, ice hockey is even more crazy because now you have a stick and a puck and you're fighting with one another trying to score. So that is the sport I would recommend for Thai folks. And you can at least get a tiny experience of it by at least skating. Go to a mall. Try some ice skating. All right, so personally, I like all three of these sports. Like I said, I think baseball is wonderful if you're someone who likes to think and strategize. Football, I think, creates a great social environment. American football creates a great social environment with all these little breaks in the game. So if you're with friends, you can chat, you can snack, it's great for parties. But again, I suspect most Thai people would find baseball or American football a little too boring. Plus, if you don't understand all the rules, it can get confusing, especially American football, but even baseball. Ice hockey is not going to confuse you. The rules are almost identical to soccer. So am I a little bit biased? Yes, because I was an avid ice hockey player, so I've played it my whole life. Well, there was about 10 years where I couldn't play it because of an injury, but basically I've played it my whole life. So I admit my opinion is not unbiased. I am biased that I like ice hockey. But really, I've played all these sports, again, other than American football. And it's not that I don't like American football either. It's one of my favorite sports. So I don't think I'm being that biased. I think I'm trying to consider what it is that Thai folks like in their sports. What do you like to see? And I think Thailand would really enjoy ice hockey. So I recommend you go online. Find some videos of ice hockey on YouTube. Most of them will be about like the hardest hits in ice hockey. That may not be showing you the best. That may not be showing you the best side of ice hockey, but they'll be interesting. So go online, check out some videos of ice hockey, and see what you think. I think it is. We talked about how we have a lot of Thai sports that are big, competitive, popular sports in Thailand that aren't as competitive in America, but we play them all. And there's not really anything in reverse, which is interesting. You don't really play baseball, American football, ice hockey here. So what I'm trying to do here is tell you which one of those I think fits in with the Thai culture of what Thai people like to watch. And my recommendation is ice hockey. All right, so thank you for joining us for today's episode of An American in Thailand. Let me reach out to any young people out there who are getting ready to go to university within the next year or so and ask you to consider our wonderful university here, RMUTP. That's Ratchamakan, University of Technology, Peranakan. All right, please stay with us and tune back in next week for another interesting episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.